Hello and welcome to another episode of the Block Breaking SMP. This week, real life got kind of busy for me. I was working late hours and stuff, and I wasn't able to get on the server as much as I'd like to. And when I did get on the server, most of my time was performing kind of boring, grindy, buildy stuff. So I didn't get a whole lot of interesting things recorded, but I did get a few, which I'll show you in just a second. And before I came up here to record this intro, I saw these signs up here. Until great Burnham Wood to hide Disdain Hill, Dunsinane Hill. I think that's a quote from a Shakespeare. I'm not sure the relevance, but apparently King and Riley swung by and they enjoyed my base. And so thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming by, and I'm glad you liked it. So let me go ahead and roll a few clips that I did record this week while I was working, and I will come back to you when they're done. So I finally decided on a block palette for my castle. And I tried several things on a creative world. I tried doing a gradient from like deep slate blocks up through stone blocks. I even tried to do like a 3-level gradient going from like black stone to deep slate to stone colored blocks. And none of that really looked good to me. I like the castle being stone color. And so really the only blocks that fit in that same color palette are the stone blocks, right? The stone bricks, the cracked stone bricks, the mossy stone bricks, and the regular stone. Everything else kind of just looked funny sprinkled in. So I just went with this. So it keeps the castle as a nice, medieval gray castle. But the palette kind of breaks it up a little bit. It doesn't look so monotonous and flat and plain. And I just kind of, the ratio I went with was, I did 2/3 of the blocks are regular brick. And then 1/3 of the blocks are the special blocks. These three. And then of that third that is the special blocks, a third of them are cracked, a third of them are mossy, and a third of them are stone. So that's the ratio I went with. I at first tried a higher ratio of the special blocks, and it almost looked too messy. But I think that gives it enough character and enough variance that I think it'll look good. Several things I still need to do. I decided on some detailing that I'm going to put kind of where the floors are between the windows. And that's going to be on the exterior going around between each floor. I'm going to have to work on that. I did few things in creative mode for that, and I settled on one that I thought looked pretty good. And I still need to add the roofs on the tops of some of these spires. And I tried a few things out in a creative world for those, and I think I came up with a design that I like for those too. So one thing to note about when I changed the block palette, I did not do the interior walls. So the only walls that have the block palette are the exterior facing walls. All the interior walls are still just plain, but I can change those up as I go through and decorate the different rooms. That's no problem. But the main reason why I didn't do the interior walls, because this was a massive job. This took many hours, a couple evenings worth of work. I basically had to tear down every wall and rebuild it with the new block palette. And this took a long time. It took a long time. I had to smelt up the cracked bricks. I had to grow a bunch of vines to make the mossy stones. So with the time it took to do the exterior, I was just not ready at all to do the interior. So I will worry about that at some other time. Well, a few things have been changing around the shops here. A lot of the folks on the server, they divided up the shopping district into different biomes. And the jungle biome here is where my shops are. So some of the folks on the server have been decorating the place up, and it is looking fantastic. They're making roads, and they're removing the mycelium, adding trees and stuff, and it's really looking pretty good. As far as my shops are concerned, they haven't been selling many things. I've made a little bit off of it, but not a whole lot. I've sold several of these live beehives, which I'm starting to think now is probably wasn't a smart thing to make those, because people are just going to buy those and make their own honey. But as far as my profits from both of my shops, I've been keeping them in this here. So all total, I've made about 1.5 stacks of diamonds off of my shops, which probably not very good, but I'm also not selling very many things, so it's probably okay. My tent here, a few things were selling. The calcite was selling pretty good. The clay sold actually really good. I had to go out and find another deposit of clay to mine out. But the granite and the andesite, the granite and the diorite have not sold at all. I've even put it out here on clearance for like dirt cheap and no one's buying it. I went ahead and switched one of them out for vines because I went ahead and farmed way too many vines in preparation for the mossy stone for my castle. And I had a ton left over, so I figured I'd try to start selling that. And I saw at one point someone in the chat was asking if anyone sold dripstone. So, I went ahead and threw a box of dripstone out here in case anybody needs it. And surprisingly, someone bought out most of my box of andesite. So, which of those three, I actually expected the andesite would actually sell because that's more useful than the other two. So yeah, so for the few things I'm actually selling, I am making a few diamonds, but nothing too extravagant. Maybe I'll have to come up with some more sought after items to sell at some point. So for the roofs on top of these spires and on top of this, I decided to go with dark prismarine mixed with warped slabs. I think that color combination went really well together. And yeah, I think that's going to work out really well for these roofs. I was originally going to go with cut copper and let it age. And I was going to try to mix it in with this prismarine, but it just didn't look right. The copper was kind of a much lighter color than this. But these two colors went together really well. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. And I made a design in Creative that I'm going to apply to these. So I have this one here, and then two matching ones on the front, and then that one and that one. So all 6 of those are going to get the same roof. And then I'll have to design something much larger for the main spire there. And this one in the middle will be a pretty simple rectangle roof. All right, so let me get started building this one. I have now completed all of the roofs except for the main spire. And I think they're looking pretty good. Yeah, I like this. Get a better look at these. Yeah, so this one in the middle, I put a strip of the cut copper down the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and let that age. I might age it all the way, and then I might back it off 1 or 2 steps and then wax them. We'll see how it looks. But yeah, I think these roofs turned out pretty nice. And now I just have to decide how I'm going to do the big one in the middle. And then get started on that. But first I'm going to have to go to the shopping district and buy more prismarine and warped wood. Okay, well I have completed the main spire's roof. This was a challenging one to build, and I surprisingly did not fall off one single time. I'm proud of that. So let me take a look at it from a distance here. Oh yeah, that looks really cool. Oh, I like that. Nice. I feel like I could have something coming down a little bit, kind of like these edges come down. Maybe I'll think about adding a little something up there. But yeah, I think that turned out really nice. I like it a lot. Awesome. So the roofs are done. I still need to work on getting these battlements figured out. I'm going to kind of have them stick out and come up a little bit. I need to figure out what to do with that. I need to, and I still need to complete these interior staircases up this spiral spire here. I still need to complete those, which I haven't done. All right, this castle's shaping up. This is getting pretty cool. I'm excited. The one thing I would like to do is expand this smelter. As far as the number of furnaces are concerned, I'm cool with that. I have 8 slots, and I can actually swap them out between smokers and regular furnaces if I need to. The amount of furnaces is no problem, but what I found is that if I do a large batch of smelting, I just burn through my bamboo resources very fast. So what I was thinking was I want to expand out backwards and increase the amount of bamboo that's being harvested. And as far as the size, so right now I currently have 8 bamboo shoots being harvested. So what I'm thinking is I'll do 8 along the side, 8 along the back, and then 8 along the other side, and I can just have the cart constantly going around between all, I guess that would be what, 32, collecting, and then also there's going to be a lot more hoppers underneath to transport them all, so all those hoppers can fill up as well and act as storage as well as transport. So I'm going to get started on that. Alright, so that completes the expansions of my furnace here. Yeah, basically I now have 32 stems of bamboo being harvested, and I have a whole array of hoppers underneath, all kind of funneling them down to those 8 furnaces. I tried to rearrange them underneath so that I could get as many furnaces as possible in there so they can act as storage. But one thing that I did notice is that these furnaces on the sides have less hoppers going to them than like the furnaces in the center, which means that in a huge load of smelting, these end ones will end up running out sooner. So I think it might be a neat puzzle to sit down there sometime and see how I can arrange the hoppers such that each furnace has a pretty much equal number of hoppers in between, you know, the drops and the furnaces. So that might be something I do offline and then see if I can arrange those a little bit better. But yeah, there it is. I did a few fine-tuning touches on the furnace here, besides a little bit of decorative details that I added here. I did go ahead and redo all of the furnaces, all of the hoppers underneath. And I'll just take a look down here. So all of these hoppers are rearranged in a much more even spacing. So if we were to look at these furnaces in the front, and it's kind of the same, like the left and right are the same. So starting kind of from the center over, originally I had it where if you go from, I'm counting from, basically from this hopper back, right? So this is kind of the hopper that feeds into it, into each furnace. So from this hopper back, I counted how many hoppers were feeding into each of these furnaces. And I came up with there was 17 feeding into here, 16 into here, 16 into here, and only 9 into here. So it was very off balance. And I was able to rearrange them to where now it's not exactly even, but it's pretty close. It's like 13 into here, 13 into here, 15 here, and 14 here. So much more even. I like it. And each one is still the cart actually dumps into the same number of hoppers for each furnace, right? So each furnace has 4 hoppers for the cart to dump into, and then they have almost an even number of hoppers feeding into them. So yeah, so that'd be great. So that's going to allow for a ton of storage once this thing fills up. And I mean, so I could do probably very, very big jobs after this, and I will have no problem with running out. So I did another thing back here. If I want to add more bamboo to the system, I stuck some shulkers up here I could dump it into, and they feed into a hopper cart. They feed into regular hoppers, which the cart will then pull out. You know, on each pass, it'll pull a couple out. So, yeah. So I think it looks pretty good, and I think it's going to be pretty effective. I think that about wraps up this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and be sure you go check out some of the other Block Breakers videos, all right? There's a link down in my description. And until next time, you take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Oh, this was not a good idea.